Hello and welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast. This is your host, Kiyan Sobhani. Diego is looking at me on the video. He's kind of disappointed with my intro. Like, what do you want? I gotta say,
You saw that.
I purposely,
You saw that.
Of course I did. I purposely have to not make it that exciting every week so that when I'm actually excited, I can take it a notch higher. If I max out every week, then you can't go one level higher when it counts, right, in the clutch. So I gotta save my
I'm
R's
blushing
for...
a little bit. I forgot that I had my camera on, so. But yeah, that was weak. That was weak sauce.
I told you, it was
intentionally
weak. I have strategically weak. We just spent about 5 minutes off air talking about showers and how much I shower, how much Diego showers. So we should have saved that for the podcast, but. I guess we'll squeeze in some other talking points. The shower topic would have been good for this segment because there's not a whole lot to discuss. Partly because this is the Churros y Barcelona podcast, and they haven't played this weekend. They played tonight. So we can discuss that at a future date, probably on Friday. But so much will pass from Monday to Friday that I will even remember what happens in the Barca game tonight. Anyways, enough riffing from me. Diego Lorijn is here. Diego, how you doing?
What's up, my man? Good, dude. Good. You're saying not a whole lot to talk about, but we were listing all the points that we want to touch, and we've got Spanish national team. We got the Hazard injury. We got Zizou talking about the possible return of Cristiano. We've got the Sevilla derby. We've got you say no Barca news, but there's always news in Barca news, and then some. So we do have our topics lined up for us today. So I say we jump in head first because we gotta kind of blitz through this one. It's an awkward day, jam-packed schedule for both you and I. And I just came to realize that, in fact, we are just on a 5-hour time difference. You'd think after 3 years of recording together that I would be up to date with that. But that was, for some reason, surprising to me that it's only 5 hours. I thought we were on at least 6 or more, 7, I thought.
So it's actually, we had a time change yesterday. So it's 4 hours now. And so this is always confusing. This is always confusing to me, especially because basically everyone I work with operates on the Eastern time zone, and I'm actually Atlantic. So when I schedule things, it's always Eastern time zone. I'm 1 hour ahead of Eastern, so I'm always talking about people in Eastern and then scheduling it in Eastern time zone, even though it's not my time zone. And then you know me, right? You know how bad I am with time zones and calculating the difference and stuff. Even though I know, I still get it wrong. So then today I was kind of sweating because I have 2 podcasts today, and I had to factor the time difference and the time change. And then so I was like really worried that I would ultimately get it wrong and I would show up at the wrong time on Skype. But I'm glad it worked out. So
yeah, we did it.
Yeah, we did it. You know what's funny about the Hazard injury? No, it's not funny. Sorry. It's actually really sad and tragic.
What is funny?
It's actually very tragic at this point. It's sad. It's not even there's no joke to be made. It's just this is terrible. It's bad. It's been a bad transfer. I was wrong about this. People I remember when this kind of the injuries first started, when he first signed for us, they were asking me is this the next Kaká? I was like, no way, you can't compare. Let's see how this plays out. Kaká in his last season at Milan already had injury issues. Hazard really wasn't on that level. This is totally different. This has been a nightmare though, and I don't know. It's been a disaster. And you know what the ironic thing is? The joke we used to make was fuck Meunier, because he's the one. It all started with his challenge against us when we played PSG, when Real Madrid were flying, and it was Hazard and Isco and Marcelo, Benzema. They were combining so well on the left side, toying with PSG. We're like, all right, we got something here. Something is brewing here. And then Meunier came in, fucked up Hazard. Hazard hasn't really played since consistently. But now it's not even the same injury. It's not the Meunier injury anymore. It's a totally different thing. So it's not a relapse of the same injury.
Yeah.
So
every time I feel like every time when he gets injured, I learn of a new muscle group. I'd never heard of this one before.
What was this one?
Psoas or something. PSOAS, yes. Something like that, at least in Spanish.
It's the psoas. Okay.
Psoas. His sore ass. He's got a sore.
The SOAS. I'm gonna go with
Sorry.
SOAS.
Is that the joke?
Or
Is that a
SOAS or
joke?
something. I think it's SOAS. Each of a pair
Was
of
that
large.
spelling correct?
I don't know what it is in Spanish, but in English it's PSOAS. So is that what you said?
Yes, that's what I said.
Okay, so it is, according to Google, each of a pair of large muscles which run from the lumbar spine through the groin on either side, and with the iliacus flex the hip. A second muscle, the psoas minor, had a I don't know why I'm reading this. This means nothing to me. I don't understand what's happening. But it's like the groin-ish kind of area, I think.
Right.
That area.
Well, listen, man, it is, you look at the numbers, the fact that he's only managed to play 14 games this season, it's it's needless to say, is worse than Dembele. I think at this point, I think everybody would agree. The quote that really stood out to me from Zizou's press conference, though, was when he talked about, I think we'll see Hazard's best, but I don't know if it will be with me on the bench. That kind of, stood out. It almost seemed like he digressed from one topic and just jumped into another one. Another hot topic these days, of course, the who will be taking over Zizou topic, weekly one. But yeah, that one for me. And again, these are just quotes, like headlines really that jumped out at me. I didn't follow the press conference or anything, but he did say something that something was up with Hazard, right? Like something's happening and they can't really put a finger to it.
Yeah, so it's funny because like 3 days ago, I don't know if this, I think this must have been before the Elche game. He was asked about Hazard, and he said he said he had that quote where he was like, we have to endure and we have to be patient with him, but when he plays, when he actually gets back, he's going to play like a motherfucker. That's what he said. And that was like one of the headline quotes from that press conference. And now, a few days later, totally different tone. I think it's like a dejected tone. Like, obviously nobody, Hazard, Zidane, like this is not easy for any of these guys. And, Hazard himself, I'm sure, is going through hell right now, like with all of this, right?
No doubt. No doubt.
So, other interesting things, I guess, where he was also asked about the medical department, and he said, I don't think there's a problem. We have very competent people here who are close to the players every day, and we are trying to find out what is happening with the injured players. There are things that happen in football. We have spoken about the preseason, about the number of games and things up here in the head as well, which influences it a lot. Eden had not had much luck since he arrived in Madrid, and yeah, so.
What do you do at this point, Kiyan, if you're Florentino Perez? Do you count your losses and try to sell them off over the summer to make room for younger, healthier players? Or do you try to stick it out one more year?
I think if you have a buyer, you take that. But I don't think there is a buyer. That's the problem.
Right.
Can you name of one team that could afford him that would need him? I can't.
I mean, I don't know. What is his, what wage is he on? I mean, I would imagine 10 plus, right? 10, 12 maybe? Or 8? Is it 8? I don't know.
I have to look at it. I'll look it up in a sec. He's on 13 million euros, and that's basically not that far away from like a Gareth Bale type player. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
So, but that's, the money thing is one thing, but also who needs him?
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone who'd be like, oh, we desperately need this guy. Like, aside the fact that no team should even think about this, because it's a huge risk either way. Even if he was still, like, even if he was needed, it's still a risk because of his track record in the last couple of years. But I just can't think of like any big team that actually needs a winger, especially someone to play on the left. I really can't. Like I saw some Chelsea fans on the Twitter timeline today getting excited about let's bring Hazard back, but that's just pure nostalgia and emotion speaking there, and probably not logic. So it's a tough one. It's a good question. I think if you find someone, you take it, but I don't know if you can find someone, which means they probably have to ride it through.
It's going to be quite a summer. I was just watching again, going through the papers before pressing record, and speaking with you here on Churros y Tácticas. and came across something that Pedro was talking about with regards to the summer. He said it's going to be a very exciting and joyful summer for Madridistas.
Oh,
And
so excited. Wow.
couldn't quite understand from what angle he was approaching this from, whether it is the return of Bale and company, or or what. I mean, like, what is in store? It's I feel, and this goes for Barca as well. I feel like so much has to be fixed before we can seriously talk about newcomers, like new players coming in. And we're just talking about Hazard now, like the difficulty of being to offload players like him, players like Felipe Coutinho, even Antoine Griezmann for that matter. Although of those three, obviously he would be the easiest sale. But before we can talk about players coming in, how do you deal with the momentous problems of players earning ginormous wages that cost even just an unthinkable amount of money? Before lighting off the firecrackers and saying, this summer, baby, we're gonna pop it off because guess who's coming to town? I mean, it beats me what he's talking about. I have a vague inclination, obviously, the sorts of hopium he's trying to sell, but I think for good reason he didn't name any names, because he's probably also aware that that a lot of things need to be sorted out before any players will come in.
So those guys, and I don't look. I just maybe calling it for what it is. Those guys are like, this is, from what I know and from what I understand, they're just receiving texts from Florentino and the club, and they'll just put out whatever they're told, right? So with one of those guys, it's always like, okay, every game we have to push the agenda of that Real Madrid getting fucked by the referee every week. So we have to push that agenda as soon as something happens on Twitter. Another one is talking about like, okay, I think to me it's a lot of like distractions. Let's just distract people for now. Let's get people excited about something. Sure. What actually happens is obviously much different, and in reality is much different. Is it possible that something exciting happens? Sure, possibly. If there's anyone who can figure it out from a financial perspective and put together some miracles and sign some upgrades, it's probably Florentino. But even like I get surprised, like sometimes when I see the links to some of these players, like even Barcelona, I saw a link that maybe Sergio Aguero might go there this summer. Yeah. And I saw some Barca fans getting excited about that, and saying like, okay, well, if we miss out on Haaland, this would be a good plan B. Then I'm just like, I just feel like ultimately none of us really know what's going to happen this summer, but we know the situation. So we like the financial books are public. Like some people say, like we don't really know the financial situation. Yes, we do. Like those aren't exactly private. Like we can see all that stuff. It's not looking great for almost anyone, especially Real Madrid or Barcelona, especially Barcelona. But someone like Aguero actually might make sense because his contract actually expires this summer.
All the players that are currently linked, Kiyan, all those players that are currently linked with the club, your Garcias, your Argueros, who else is being talked about in the papers? There was a whole section dedicated the other day. Alaba is another one, although I just have my doubts with him given his ridiculous demands, so I didn't take that one all too serious. But two or three other players, and all of those mentioned. In fact, our friend Phil Kittrell, he on Twitter made a mention to the front pages of the Catalan sport newspapers with regards to these players, and all of those players except for Haaland, who also made the cover, would come free. Free, obviously, meaning no transfer fee. There would be some sort of buying bonus that these players and their agents get when they come without a transfer fee. But
that's why it's not actually ever free. I mean, like I have a quick list here. It's like just a few names that Goal put together of kind of marquee players who are out of contract this summer: Aguero, Alaba, Juan Bernat, Jerome Boateng, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Edison Cavani, Memphis Depay, Angel Di Maria, Julian Draxler,
of course.
Donnarumma, Eric Garcia, David Luiz, Musa Marega, Juan Mata, Lionel Messi, Is it this summer that his contract expires?
Yes, man. Yes.
Milik, Mkhitaryan, Modric, Mustafi, Sergio Ramos, Danny Rose, Lucas Vazquez, Wijnaldum, who's another player who's linked to Barcelona.
Oh, Wijnaldum is another one.
Yeah. None of these, most of these players aren't actually free. Unless you're re-signing a player already that plays with your club. You know, like somebody like Haaland, whose contract doesn't end. It's not only that you have to pay his transfer fee. You have to pay Raiola fee too. I don't,
and we know that ain't cheap.
Yeah, that ain't cheap. So it's all these issues. Something that'll tie.
So I don't disagree with him. I think it will be an entertaining summer. I just don't know the way he sold it. It was like, okay, get ready because big boys coming to town. Hopefully for La Liga, for Madrid and Barça, Mbappé and Haaland do come this summer. Who knows?
We have to remember that Zidane himself.
Would you take Neymar? Would you take Neymar now?
I feel like we had like a long discussion about this in the summertime.
I know, but that was ages ago.
I know, but I mean, the discussion is with him is that he is one of the greatest attacking players I've seen this generation. I would love to have him on the left flank. However, we also had a huge discussion about is he already past his peak because of his just getting battered and injured like constantly, and that worries me a little bit. Yeah,
of course.
We have to remember that Zidane himself is a shitty source. Remember that time when he was like, Bale is not playing today because he's on his way to China, and then like the next day he like just stayed at Real Madrid for like 10 years.
Right.
And he's still a Real Madrid player. By the way, this is the irony in all this, Diego. Like we mentioned all these names and Hazard. Bale, like from a analytical, statistical perspective, attacking output is outperforming every single one of Real Madrid's current players. In like just like with a short burst of like attacking play is like, and we're not even talking about like Tottenham, this attacking juggernaut. Just as like this defensive team who just like gets a few chances every game and then he scores. Obviously, the context is he plays Europa League games, but he's also played good against the bigger teams of late. And obviously, we saw Odegaard yesterday. He scored 2 consecutive games now.
I was at Derby. I mean, I saw what's his name's goal. That was insane.
Lamela. Yeah, that was outrageous.
Lamela.
Yeah. But I have to reiterate what some Real Madrid fans will say. These players, it's one thing to cut it at Arsenal, but can they cut it at a great club like Real Madrid? Get out of here. Just cut it wherever you are, and that's what they're doing. So let's see if they can cut it, because right now nobody's cutting it here. Anyways, La Selección.
Wow, what a pod this has been so far. Yeah, let's go to the Selección, because I wanted to touch upon the game. I imagine you beat that subtopic to death, and plus you got the Champions League to look forward to. But hey, just my takeaway: what a way to grind out another result, man. Becomes a weekly question though. Was it a penalty or was it not?
Wait, which one are we talking about? Because there was two to discuss.
Okay, I guess I'm referring to the remake of Ramos's takedown of Mo.
Oh, so the potential Elche penalty, you mean?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was a penalty. I was really confused as to why it wasn't. I mean, it turns out it worked out for them because they actually scored from the corner where the foul wasn't called. I thought it was a penalty. They called offside, which was the weird call because it wasn't even offside. And so to be quite honest, I was really confused about that play. It was just confusing because I thought it was a penalty and then they just called offside or something.
It was a good stop from Thibaut as well.
Yeah, it was. It was like a double save, I think, right? Or maybe it was one save. I can't remember. But I thought that was a penalty. I was confused as to why it wasn't called. It worked out for them because they scored on an ensuing corner. There was also the one where Ramos was pulled in the box, and that was controversial too. And that's the one where the Chiringuito reporters went to Twitter and were like, pushing their thing that Real Madrid is always getting screwed by the referee. So I think it
But
probably
that's the
balanced
one
out.
I was referring to. That he gets pulled down by his arm.
Oh, that is the one you're referring to. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was a penalty.
that's why I put the remake.
I thought there were two
Right.
penalties that weren't called. One for Elche, one for Real Madrid.
Okay. But anyway, I mean, another ground out result. Not a convincing performance, but
Correct.
the 3 points to stay within that title race, and really at this point, I guess that's all you want, right? That's all you can hope for, really. I mean, like what is Zizou gonna do? Make this team play amazing football? I mean, no, that's clear, right? As Madridistas, I say we, gosh, all you can hope for is just to stay in the race, right?
Yeah, it doesn't sound very fun. I mean, last season's title run wasn't very fun, if we're being quite honest. Like, in the list of like Real Madrid titles that I was like over the moon celebrating, that ranks pretty low. Of like, it might rank dead last from all the La Liga titles that I've watched from Real Madrid. Probably this was the least celebratory. Maybe that's the mood of COVID and what's going on in the world and stuff like that. But also it was just the most unconvincing. And so defensively focused, which is fine. I'm not against good defense, obviously. But from an attacking perspective, there wasn't much to get excited about. If it kind of goes this way this season, I guess I'll be happy. But certainly it's not exciting. And I don't think Real Madrid will win the title anyway. Now, our prediction of Atletico winning the title, how do you feel about that right now? Because they dropped 2 points again this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited, man. My optimism keeps increasing by the week. Obviously, I have to see what we do tonight against Huesca, and before you start huffing and puffing and assuming the 3 points will land over at the Camp Nou, even you have to admit that Barca have had its ups and downs and its irregular performances, and every time we come off the back of a good performance, we kind of take a dip again, right? It's kind of like
nah, come on. It's you don't have to have a good performance against Huesca. You just have to show up and just kick some balls around.
Sure, but it's the performance have been so volatile, like the cryptocurrency markets, that you don't know what to expect sometimes. And even if it is just getting those 3 points in an ugly way, well, we only need to look at Cádiz to see that's not always the case, right? This team does sometimes go up against very closed opposition where they lack ideas, creativity, motivation, God knows what, but they don't come away with the 3 points. It's been like that all season. So I don't know what to expect tonight. I'm hopeful, obviously. I think we can close the gap to 4 points. And if we do, man, I'm very excited. I have to say, I am very optimistic. The most I have been all season, Kiyan. This is the most optimistic I've been all season, and it's coming off of a Champions League elimination. So
we'll see. You're still 6 points back. If you win tonight, it's only 3. Did I get that right, or is it less?
No, 4. We're 7 points behind now.
Okay, so if you win, it's 4 points back. I mean, that's and you have to play them. Right?
We still need to play them. Yeah, at the Camp Nou. Obviously, the Clásico as well still. I don't know about Atletico's schedule, but we still need to go through Real Sociedad, which is actually next week. And I think, though, I remember looking at the calendars briefly and looking at ours more favorable as opposed to the calendars of Real Madrid and Atletico.
Yeah. Let's just quickly talk about La Selección, and then I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
There.
Wow, this has gone by like in a sneeze.
Yeah, because we talk an hour about like the littlest things. Like we go into too much micro detail, I think, which is fine.
True.
I don't know if this.
So it's a surprising list. It's full of surprises. This one.
Most Luis Enrique selections are full of surprises. I feel like every time he puts out a squad, I'm like, oh, that's like if this was, let's say, if this was Del Bosque, what would the squad be? It would be like it would be like Sergio Ramos. He'd probably still be calling Xavi out of retirement. Iniesta would get a run. Busquets would definitely.
Xavi Alonso.
Yeah, Xabi Alonso, David Villa would still be around. So this is a
You
good.
do all right.
It's a good. I like. Sometimes I feel like he goes a little bit too extreme with like forcing the new names and the young players. But it's.
You're not talking about Robert Sanchez, are you?
Well, so we have. No, I mean, I don't really have an opinion on that either way. He's the third goalkeeper, but. So the new names are him, Pedro Porro, who I think deserves it, Pedri,
Yeah.
who deserves it, and Brian Gil, who deserves it.
Absolutely. Yes.
And now,
I'm Go on.
Well, obviously, just that Marcos Llorente, who got his first selection last time, not this time, and is still in the squad. He should be a starter, I think, at this point. He's just been unbelievable. So it's a weird one because there's no real stars in this team. It's not like the generations of past, but it's good. And Oyarzabal has been so good, and like I think he's starting to cement his place. But
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
He's a starter. He's a starter.
yeah,
He's a starter. You're asking for
very good.
So your star names, don't you see what
Got
I did
it.
there?
I understand.
I'm a little bit surprised about Thiago, I have to say. Thiago, who has not been a regular starter for Liverpool, who's not neither impressed, I would say, in this time there. A little bit surprised, maybe. Sorry?
Injuries.
Injuries, but also perhaps maybe lack of knowledge of the English game, needing more time to adjust. He's getting an awful lot of bad press, I feel, from colleagues, or ex-colleagues, I should say, retired players and retired coaches. When I read articles about his name and the kind of press that is being associated to him, it's not necessarily good. So I was a little bit surprised to see his name in there. Not that I don't rate Thiago, and certainly think that he's more at home in the Spanish game, the Spanish national side, as opposed to a more physical league such as the Premier League. But to expand on what you said before about the surprises, I thought that he would maybe have given room to maybe another midfielder that would have potentially stood out. I'm putting myself on the spot now. I'm kind of going blank as to who I could see, fill in Thiago's boots. But again, it was just a name that stood out to me that was a little bit surprising. I'm really happy honestly, Robert Sanchez was news to me, as in I didn't even know him. I didn't know of him. So you're going to have to excuse me for that. I was very happy to see Pedro Porro. I haven't really followed him that much ever since he moved to Portugal. I felt that he was wrongly done by in his time with Valladolid. He's always a player that I rated particularly high, and I've always had a bias towards him because I got to see him in a practice session with Girona B when he was playing for Girona B, and I was sitting by the touchline, and he was whizzing by me just constantly. And the man, the kid at that point, but the guy had literally thighs of the size of tree trunks. I was mesmerized by just how strong and fast this guy was. And it was Girona B playing against the South Africa under-19s team, and he was just going to town over and over again. And ever since then, I was like, man, this guy is going places. This guy's gonna be somebody. He was already owned, by Manchester City. Then he was out on loan for Girona B. Then obviously he broke into the Girona first team. Then moved to Valladolid, where he just completely vanished. I haven't really followed him much during his time with Sporting, but I guess I should have, because he's been making waves there, and I'm extremely happy to see his progress lead him to be called up with the Spanish national side, because anybody whose last name is Porro, which literally translates as joint, spliff, I'm down with that dude, and I'm rooting for him.
So I have a couple more thoughts on piggybacking what you said about Pedro Porro. I don't have a huge opinion on him, and I haven't seen him play much, but from what I understand, he's played really well at Sporting, and I also understand he plays also good there in a very specific system. as a wing back there. So I wonder how Luis Enrique will use him. And maybe he doesn't even see the field. Who knows? But so you had mentioned Thiago and what I suppose does he deserve it or not. So my personal opinion of him, and I think
not so much does he deserve, just I was surprised, Kiyan. I don't want to say that he doesn't deserve.
No, for sure. And look, we all know like kind of form with your club and if you're playing or not, if you're healthy or not, that does have an impact on the Spanish national team selection. I think that's part of the reason why Isco hasn't really been called up consistently is because he just hasn't been on the field for Real Madrid. So he's not going to get called up with Spain. That's part of it anyway. But I'm of the opinion of Thiago, and I think we talked about this a few months ago, and you actually, from what I remember, you pushed back. I'm not sure if you were in agreement with me, but I think he's actually Spain's best midfielder when healthy and clicking. From a technical perspective, from like an experience, composure standpoint, someone I really trust. But I think you have a valid point about like, this specific circumstance, and you were thinking of midfield names who weren't there. The main one, I think, is Mikel Merino, who hasn't been called up.
Merino, one of my favorite. Yeah. Yes. Good one.
You could potentially start talking about players like Jean Jordan, who's had a really good season. But, So, the defense, the names in defense are interesting too. Like, Pau Torres is injured. That's why he's not called up. But I don't understand. I've never understood the infatuation with Diego Llorente, for example. I don't know why what does he... I've never really liked his game at Real Sociedad. Like somebody who hasn't been called up that could, like, as healthy as Hermoso. I think I'd rather have Hermoso than Diego Llorente. Let's see.
Hermoso's class.
Yeah, Hermoso's
quality for sure.
Good. Jesus Navas wasn't called up. Any opinions there? Neither was Adama Traore, by the way.
Well, I mean, Navas is a regular. I don't know if maybe for this string of games, given his age, he's asked to rest, seeing as Sevilla is also going through, their decisive phase of the league. I don't know if that played any factor whatsoever. But, I mean, just to add on to the list of defensive players, Mingueza, man. I think Mingueza would have has done enough, and he's a young player as well, to maybe be tested for the Spanish national side.
I think he'll probably. I feel like Mingueza's inevitable, probably, at some point. There was one more thing I wanted to talk about this with the Spain squad. I don't remember what it was.
Brahim Gil, a.k.a. the young Cruyff, as he's known as. Just
that he deserves it. It'll be interesting to see once Ansu Fati comes back, who will be dropped.
Right.
Because right now you have Ferran Torres, Oyarzabal, Dani Olmo, Brahim Gil, Morata. It'll probably be Brahim Gil, to be honest. But
but I think his future also, yeah. His future looks very bright. And the way, I don't know if you saw that video, Kiyan, where he received the news of him being called up.
No.
For this Absoluta. He's basically training. He's on the training grounds of Eibar. And one of the technical staff goes over to him and tells him to him, and he actually breaks down into tears.
Awesome. He's a very likable kid.
He is.
Yeah.
Very much so.
So, I'm okay to wrap it up here. Because I got to upload this before next one. Vale. Yeah. So we'll be back Friday over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. It was nice to have a non-Barcelona pod.
Hey.
I know all our Barca fans would be upset about that, but,
By the way, I like that you put out a poll.
Yeah.
But that poll should have been retweeted, and we're never going to get the right... Was it?
Yeah, it was retweeted by Managing Madrid.
Oh, shit. Check. Okay.
Yeah. What was the final tally?
All right, well, here, I'll tell you right now. The final tally, my friends, of the famous poll on what is the majority audience of Churros y Tácticas.
Yeah.
Is it Madridistas? Is it culés? Is it other? The suspense is killing me. as is this scrolling down. Kiyan Sobhani tweets.
I have it here, ready.
You got it? Okay, go.
Yeah. 59.3% Madridista, 36.1% Culé, and 4.6% other. Closer than you thought, right?
Closer than I thought, for sure.
Now we got to retweet it from a Barca, maybe Barca Blaugrana's can retweet it too. Can you work your excellent connections with them? They love you there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure that they'd love to do me that favor. No, but the thing is that is fair. I felt it fair for you to retweet from the Managing Madrid and your personal account, because that's where the audience comes to listen to this pod. You know, I'm minuscule compared to you two guys' accounts, so that's why obviously I retweeted it, but it's not going to have much of an impact. Whereas you get the point.
Well, did you retweet it?
I did, of course I retweeted it.
All right, we got to go. Thanks, Diego.
All right, boys.
See you Friday over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas.
See you Friday. Hopefully I can do the intro, and hopefully Atalanta can kick out Madrid so we can all focus on La Liga.
All right, good luck, man. All right, take care.
Thank you. Thank you.